we're going to be learning about the law of sines. Now, what do you notice about this triangle that's different than every other triangle we've looked at for the past month?
It's not a right triangle.
It's not a right triangle. So the law of sines actually works on all triangles. It can be right, but it's the only thing that we're going to learn about that doesn't have a right triangle. So if on your test on Friday there's a picture of a triangle and there's no right angle, what do you think you're going to be using? The law of sines. Now this is the law of sines. Bless you. So what do these capital letters represent? What always is attached to sine? Yeah. These are all, and I would maybe label that, these are all angles. And you can see over the triangle, the capital letters are the angles. And then you have empty boxes. Go ahead and fill in A, B, C there. Look at the picture. What do lowercase a, b, and c stand for? Yeah, sides. Now, really easy to remember. A is over A, B is over B, C is over C. But look at the picture. If this is angle A, where is side A? On the opposite side. It's easy to remember because sine uses the opposite side, right? S-O-H. So it's not necessarily the basic trig we've learned before, but it still is talking about the side opposite that angle. Okay. What is opposite angle C? Side C. And what is opposite angle B?
Side B.
Yeah. So they're always across from each other. So just remember that. So this is going to be a ratio, meaning or a proportion. We're only going to have two at a time. So it shows you that technically they're all equal. But we're going to basically be doing cross multiplying here. It's going to be a fraction equals a fraction. Okay. So let's don't worry about the lines at the next step. Let's just go to the first example. We want to find segment FG. So on your picture, put an X. I think it's just best to kind of see how this works. So let's go back to our formula. What's on top? It's always sine, right? Are we ever going to use cosine? No, there actually is a law of cosines, but we're not going to learn it in here. And we're not going to use tangent. It's always sine. So start off with sine. So what side am I trying to find here? FG. We'll call it X. Sides always go on the bottom. But the angle that's across from that side has to be the angle on top, which is what? H, and that is 32. We know what that is.
Oh.
So sine of the angle over the opposite side is equal to... Now, what's the only other angle we know? 39. Now, we could find the third, right? If we wanted. Subtract them from 180. But let's just go with the one they give us. Sine of 39. And what side is on the opposite side from 39?
40.
Yeah, it's at 40. So that goes on bottom. So sine of the angle over the opposite side equals sine of another angle over its opposite side. And now how do we solve a fraction equals a fraction? Cross multiply. So x times sine of 39 equals 40 times what? Times sine of 32. You could technically call that sine of 32 times 40. I just like to put the whole number up front. Not a big deal. Now this looks kind of ugly, right? We're not used to having two different sine functions. So from here, let's pretend like we're back in 8th grade. If I had x times 4 equals, remember, this is just a number, right? I could throw that in my calculator and it'll spit out some decimal. So don't overthink it. What would we do in this case if we needed to get x by itself? Yeah, we divide the 4 over, right? So let's just divide both sides by sine of 39. That's what's being multiplied. Yeah, sine of 39 is just a number, right? So if we divide both sides by sine of 39, that cancels out, So now I have x equals all of that, right? Now it looks ugly, but we can just throw it in our calculator. So go ahead and get your calculator out. And I'm going to show you the easiest way to do this. You guys remember how to insert a fraction on your calculator? You can do math right up. I'm going to show you, I found out Mr. Weinberg showed me another shortcut. It's alpha y equals. So green button, and then top left button y equals. And the very first option is that n over d. So hit enter, hit alpha, and then hit y equals. And now it gives you the little fraction with the boxes, right? So we're just going to type in literally what we see. So 40 times, and you don't even have to put the times sign. The calculator assumes that it's multiplying if you don't put any space in between. So over, so you have to arrow down to the bottom, right? And then type in sine of 39, close your parentheses, and hit enter.
I just let that do that.
So about 33 is about 33 point, we can call it 68, that's fine. What did we just find? Was it a side or was it an angle? It was the side of the triangle. So units, we don't really have units, so we'll just call it 33.68.
Not bad.
We're going to skip that. We're going to go to NP. So find put an X on NP. Now, is that X going to go on the top of a fraction or on the bottom? We know it's going to go on the bottom. Sides always go on the bottom. So I'm going to start with that X, because obviously that needs to be in our equation. And now, which angle is opposite X? Yeah, so sine of 88. It's always sine. You don't even have to think about it. It's pretty easy. And that is equal to, what is the other angle inside that we know? Yeah, and they happen to be across from each other too, right? So sine of what? The angle, which is 39, over the opposite side is 22. So see if you can finish it off from here. It's the exact same as the one we just did. You get 34.9?
I didn't even get to think.
34.9. What am I finding this time?
The angle of Q.
Q. So I'm going to put an X in angle Q, and it's X degrees. Whatever answer we get this time is degrees because I'm finding an angle. Okay. So let's start off with sine of what? X. This time we don't know the angle, right? If the angle goes on top and we don't know the angle, that's what we have to put on top with sine. So sine of X over. Now, what side is opposite that angle? 6 is equal to. Now, what's the other angle that we know?
1.
And what side is opposite that? 8. So, yep, we're going to cross multiply. So, actually, I'm going to make this, we don't need to cross multiply. This is what we're trying to get by itself, right? So I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. What's the only thing we need to do to get sine of X by itself if it's divided by 6? Multiply 6 to both sides, right? Because the 6 divided by 6 cancels out. That's algebra 1, I don't know what to type. Equals 6 sine of 51 over 8. Now we have to use our knowledge of basic trigonometry. How did we learn, because we're finding an angle, how did we learn to cancel out this sign so that x, the angle, is by itself? Heather? Yeah, inverse. Inverse sine both sides.
Okay, I'm good.
There's always another way.
So we need to inverse sine that entire side. So once again, it's ugly, but we're just going to throw it in our calculator. So it's really important for you to understand how to do that. So do this with me. Start out with the inverse sine. That's what we have to do first, right? Because we're inverse signing everything in green. So start out with second sine. Second sine. Now, inside of the inverse sine is where we need our fraction, right? So now hit alpha y equals and insert your n over d. And now type in the green stuff. So 6 sine of 51 over 8. Now see how it's flashing that little arrow? That means if you want to get out of the denominator, arrow to the right. And that allows you to go to the right side and close your big parenthesis.
35.65.
So about 35,
36.
let's call it 35.7, 35.7 degrees. That is the measure of angle Q that we just found. So a little bit of basic trig review in there with the inverse sine to find an angle measure.
Well, why'd you write?
Now at the top of this one it says, don't forget what we know. So don't forget to go back to the basics sometimes.
So you gotta find that angle first.
Now, how would you know that? You didn't go to. Will you fix my calculator?
Is that what you're laughing at?
What?
I know 67 and I know I'm trying to find x. The problem is I don't know the angle that is across from that 18. I have to know angle A for law of sines to work. So how do you find, Tatum, the third angle when I know two of them? Good. So our missing angle A should be sine of 69 degrees. That was the one that was missing. That's what I mean by don't forget about the basics. Don't forget about what we know. You know how to find the third angle of a triangle for the past 3 months. So don't forget the basics. Now, why could I not use a Pythagorean theorem here, though?
This is not a right angle.
Yeah, I always have people, like I'll tell you two of the sides, like let's say on the test I tell you this is 15 and this is 18 and I'll have you find x. Why can we not do 15 squared plus 18 squared equals x squared? That's not a right triangle, which might seem kind of weird because we're so used to using the hypotenuse across from the right angle. So hopefully when your brain starts saying like, something's not right here. So this is the way we would set it up, and then we cross multiply. X times sine of 69 is equal to 18 times sine of 67. What am I dividing both sides by?
Sine of 69.
Sine of 69, that gets the x by itself. So you should have typed in your calculator 18 times sine 67 divided by sine of 69, which I'll trust you, what does it give you?
17.7.
17. Is it 0.7?
Yep. Yeah.
Is that what you all got?
Yeah.
17.7. Is that an angle or is that a side? That's a side, AC.